A disability is a disability. If you need a device, get the device that works best for you.
It's sitting pretty, baby.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Lolo, and we're talking about ambulatory wheelchair users. For those who don't know, ambulatory wheelchair users means there are people like myself and many millions of other people who use a wheelchair, but not permanently. So that means they're still able to stand up and walk short distances, or maybe long distances up until they're just too tired and they're not able to walk and need a wheelchair for their use. I wanted to address this because a lot of people assume that because you use a wheelchair, that means you are completely paralyzed. There is still a community of people that use wheelchairs for many different reasons. I have been questioned and I have been asked on how is it possible that you're standing up in this video but you're a wheelchair user? I just saw you take some steps. How is that even possible? You use a wheelchair. A lot of people also don't know that a wheelchair is designed to strictly be a mobility device. That's it. A wheelchair is not indicative of someone being paralyzed. A wheelchair just means, hey, this person needs this device to get from point A to point B. That's why when mommies are leaving the hospital after giving birth, they use a wheelchair, because if they were to ambulate on their own, it could be potentially dangerous depending on however style birth that they had. A lot of people who suffer from chronic pain or joint pain uses wheelchairs. They're not paralyzed, but they need it because if they were to use their own limbs over a certain amount of time, their pain will be at an excruciating point that they would not be able to handle it anymore, and they need the assistance. People use wheelchairs to prevent themselves from hurting themselves. For my particular disability, I have a form of muscular dystrophy. So for me, my muscles are weak and they lack mass. So I have lack of muscle mass and I have muscle weakness throughout my bodies, but especially throughout my limbs. If I were to try and walk a long distance, one, I would exhaust myself. Two, I don't have the strength to do it. So therefore, I use a wheelchair. But when I'm home in the comforts of my own apartment, or like I said, a close family or friend's home, then I ambulate there because I'm comfortable. I know the space, I know the flooring. It's almost like I've memorized through my feet how my flooring feels when moving about on my own, so that way I can still have the option of exercising my body in that way to get the muscles that I do have going and keep them moving and thriving, as well as being able to conserve my energy, because once I'm tapped out, I am tapped out. I am over it. I don't want to move. I can't move. It's a whole thing. That is why I use a wheelchair. Because I do have muscular dystrophy throughout my body, there's also certain actions that I'm physically unable to do, like bend over or reach down and grab something and come back up. So I use my wheelchair as a way to be able to support myself to do those things, whether it's taking dishes out of the dishwasher or taking something out of the oven. Or if I'm standing up and I just so happen to drop something, then I would get in my wheelchair, drive on over to the thing, pick it up, put it where it's supposed to go, get out my wheelchair and move on throughout my apartment. That's just, many different things that I do as an ambulatory wheelchair user to preserve my energy and be able to live as independently as possible. And because of my wheelchair, I am able to live independently. That's the other thing. A lot of people will look at a wheelchair and think, oh, life is over. It's the end of the world. I use a wheelchair. When really, A wheelchair gave me my independence. A wheelchair gave me my ability to move about the world the way I wanted to, that I can go outside and be able to go up a few blocks and shop and eat or do whatever I want to do, to be able to get into a wheelchair accessible van and get to the next location and still have my independence. I really wanted to just shed light on that because that is one of the biggest misconceptions about people with disabilities. People will see a device, whether it's a crutch or a walker or a cane or a wheelchair, and assume a person's disability based on the device that they're using. And in certain cases, you may be right, but in a lot more cases, I'm pretty sure that you're probably wrong. I wanted to show a different way that a wheelchair is used throughout the disabled community. Does being an ambulatory wheelchair user make someone any less disabled or more disabled? Absolutely not. A disability is a disability. If you need a device, get the device that works best for you. Get the device that's gonna preserve your energy, that's gonna preserve your physical health, and help you become as independent as possible. So if you are also an ambulatory wheelchair user, leave a comment below. Share with me your experiences. What have people said to you, and how have you been able to use your experience to educate others about ambulatory wheelchair users? All right, y'all. Until next time, it's Cindy Pretty Baby. Peace. Okay, we good?